Hey, my friends, I have an article that I found recently that I wanted to share. And I'm just going to kind of put the link in the comment section. And I'll just show you some screenshots here of the article, or at least parts of it. And it comes from The Sun. It's thesun.co.uk. That's what, if you're trying to find it online. And it's a pretty good article, especially for the general population. This article, in my opinion, is better written than a lot of the prepper articles that I read these days. Surprisingly so. I mean, it's just one of those things that sometimes you find something of substance, and I just thought maybe I'd share it. So it's titled Preparing for War, How to Prepare for World War III, and What to Do if There's a Nuclear Attack. And so it talks a little bit about this and that. This was actually put online, it says, on November the 28th of 2018. And the first section is what to do before a nuclear blast. And it has some recommendations, such as to build an emergency supply kit, make an emergency plan for the family, to find out from officials if there's any kind of public buildings in your community that have been designated as fallout shelters. And if not, there's some recommendations there. What to do during a nuclear blast. It says to listen for official information and any means that you have available to you. It could be online or through a radio or through TV and so forth. And it says to take cover if you're under attack. Find the nearest building, preferably built of brick or concrete, and go inside to avoid any radioactive material outside. And it just goes on, especially it says if you can go underground, go as far down as you can, and so forth. The next section, though, is what to do if you're caught outside. Basically, it says do not look at the flash or fireball, especially, I guess, if we're getting nuked. It can blind you. Take cover behind anything that might offer protection. Lie flat, and then it says take appropriate shelter when you first can. And it gives you quite a few more pointers there. Once again, this was actually written for just the general population. This is pretty good. So what about this next part here? What should you have in your survival kit? And it kind of gives some examples here. In fact, this list is better than a lot of lists that I see on the web. So, 2 thumbs up for this. It says things like canned foods, ready-to-eat foods, first aid kit, multiple containers of peanut butter. I'm not so big on the peanut butter thing. It's not the worst food to have as a survival food, but, I have a video on that I think I would probably pick something else unless you just ate the peanut butter by itself. It says assorted mixed drinks. A lot of that's just sugar drinks. I'd probably avoid that, but, at least you'd have something there. Multivitamins, that's a good idea. Iodine solution, not a bad idea. Multiple big boxes of dried milk. Well, if you're not lactose intolerant, and it has rice, beans, flour, oats, sugar, and honey. Some of those things are okay. There's probably better options. But large 2 gallons or more of cooking oil. I'm not the biggest fan of cooking oil, but maybe you need that to make some of your meals the way you like it. Baking powder and baking soda and spice assortment packs. That kind of makes a bit of sense. Can opener, kitchen matches, disposable lighters, and it goes on and on and on. And it's pretty good, for the most part. I mean, there's just things that I'm picky about, and there's other people that have things too that they would nitpick about this. But for the average person that's not into preparedness at all, it's a good starting point at least. So it goes on a little bit further here. It says fire extinguisher, paper and plastic plates, cups and utensils, dust mask, filter protectors, cheap plastic hooded rain ponchos, water filters, and so forth. So the next section, though, and it's pretty impressive that this article contains so much stuff, is what to do after a nuclear blast. And basically it has some things about in the past of what has happened and the radioactivity and the decay rate. And basically it just says you're going to probably need to shelter for a while. and be mindful of the decay rate of whatever radiational hazard it is, and just do things that make sense, and kind of try to connect with some kind of outside source that you can rely on, that you can trust, to make the next step in terms of what to do, especially if you're kind of sheltering in place. Typically speaking, if it is a nuclear attack, you're going to need 2 to 4 weeks. So roughly 2 to 4 weeks of sheltering in place. But if you're really far away from ground zero, it could just be a few days. And of course, it really does depend as well of what type of weapon was detonated, and also where the winds are blowing, where the winds are. And so there's a lot of factors at play here. So I just wanted to mention this article. It's not the end all be all of articles, but I mean, it's pretty good for what it is. And maybe this is just a good starting point for some people that just have to have their news come from a mainstream news source. If so, then here you go. Here's a mainstream article saying to be prepared. And so that's the thing that I kind of laugh a little bit, because I know a lot of people that they say, well, that's really extreme to be prepared. And they don't always say the word prepared, but they say to stockpile certain things, or to have some extra stuff around the house. They think it's a little bit over the top or even extreme. And then you get an article like this in a mainstream, actual news organization, if you want to call it that, and whammo, they're talking about it. So, sometimes you have to just point these things out to people, that just because the mainstream sources don't always do it doesn't mean that you shouldn't have the forethought to be prepared. To me, it's just very common sense. But there's a lot of people who wait to be told to do anything. And this is not good. I always kind of laughed at the word proactive, because the way that it was taught to me was at a particular place of employment. And the boss that I had was just a real weasel of a boss. He was just a real sly and sneaky, slithery kind of person. Not someone that you would respect. And he always liked to use that word proactive. See, it's a good word, but it's been tainted for me personally because of that particular boss. He always would try to push that word, be more proactive, when he himself was just not the person that you would respect. Like, you just wanted to do the opposite of what he said because he was just that kind of person. But I think it is appropriate to say that word, though, in this context, to be proactive, because being proactive allows you to be one or more steps ahead of the things that are down the road that will eventually happen. Because you got to think of it like that. It's not a matter of if it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when things are going to happen. We will have another world war. There will be nuclear devices detonated eventually down the road in the future. I hope it's not in the near future, but it's going to happen. This is just the probability of it happening, and it's just so high. It's pretty much guaranteed. So I simply want to just, in this video, just to kind of link you to this article, especially for the very new preppers and those maybe that live in the United Kingdom and they want a more, local source of information for preparedness. Well, here's a starting point. Now, it's very basic once again, but maybe it'll get you a little bit more interested in the whole genre of preparedness. As always, thanks for checking the video out. You guys take care.